Do you have an on-off button?
It's a cannon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It shoots, so be careful.
Why is it blinking?
Because it's recording.
Do you have a pause, stop, play
What?
deal? Is that going to be good enough lighting?
Well, we can't get any better.
Okay. Now during this, I'm okay if it kind of, you know what I mean, on some of those where it comes out a little. It does. I don't want it to be static. Does
You
that make
don't want it
sense?
to be what?
Static. Meaning fixed.
Sure.
You know what I mean, Quinn?
Yeah.
In other words, you know, it's kind of like how they do like interviewing and stuff.
And Mrs. Brink, she wanted to know if, when I told her she was coming out, and she said, "Is that the one with the two little boys?"
Yeah. You want a water, Grandma?
No.
You sure?
Yep, I'm sure. I'm full.
I don't know. I may be asking you a lot of questions. I may ask her a lot of questions, and you may get really thirsty. But I'll put this out here.
Okay, you said it there.
Are you recording or not?
Yeah, it is.
So you're gonna edit it all up?
No. Here, you can do it.
Well, that's why I was like, don't record yet then until we're ready. Pause. Okay, some of the...
Is it going to show our pictures too?
Yeah, it's a video, yeah. Don't show her. Zoom out a little. Yeah. Nice and slow and stuff like that. Okay, tell me the story about, that you say about when that tornado went through out at the farmhouse and we all stayed up there. And it was the one where it lifted the barn up and set it back down. It killed a lot of sheep.
There, Lorville.
Yeah, and then I was there.
Yeah.
Was Blake there?
No, just you.
Was it just me? So Mom and Dad abandoned me up there.
You stayed with me for about, 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. And we were in the basement
Yeah,
when the tornado went through. But then some people came over.
yeah.
And what's that story about me that you always tell them?
What about the people coming over?
Yeah.
I don't remember who the people were.
Well, it don't matter who it was.
I think it was, I don't remember.
But it was more of what the story was told. What story did I tell to them? Orphan.
Oh, yeah. You was an orphan, yeah. I adopted you.
Yeah, because you were there, you said you were listening in. So what is that story? You remember that one?
No, I don't. I missed a lot of them.
Well, that's the one you said something about. Like I was making up that I was an orphan and the parents left me and that my parents were dead.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. That's what you meant, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me that. You told somebody else that.
But you were listening in. I don't remember this story. You told me.
Yeah, you was sitting out on that step, and I don't remember who you was telling it. But you was an orphan, and you was staying with me. I think I adopted you, the way you told it. And Harold had made you a slingshot,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and he cut an arrow out of a shingle.
Shingle, yeah.
And you shot it and it went out in the cornfield and you couldn't find it. You come back just to cry and couldn't find the... I said, well, don't cry, it was just a shingle.
Yeah, yeah. And then later on, down the road, when I was a young adult, Grandpa made another one,
Yeah.
and he brought it down.
You slept with it under your pillow.
Well, not then, when I was a little kid. Not when I was up there.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but you did.
Okay, you were telling me earlier, when did you move to Iowa from Missouri?
We moved to Iowa when Elsie was 7 weeks old. We lived in Maryville, Missouri then, and when she was born, I went down to Mom's because Harold was moving stuff from Maryville to Lake City, and he didn't want to leave me alone, so he took me down to Mom's. And I was staying there until after Elsie was born. And then when she's 7 weeks old, he come down and got me and took me up to
Lake City.
Yeah.
So you lived in Lake City?
No, we lived in a farm outside
Outside
of Lake City.
Lake
Yeah.
City.
And Eloise Norville, it was a big, I think it was a 14-room house, great big thing.
Wow, that's a lot of rooms.
It was. And I lived in half of it and she lived in half of it. And nobody lived upstairs who didn't even,
Who'd you live with?
Harold's sister and her husband.
Okay.
It was 400 acres there, and Orville and Harold rented it together. And Eloise had two little, she had Orville Dean and Joyce.
Yeah.
And I had Elsie Mae. And Joyce was just Elsie was crawling, and Joyce was a little bit bigger, you know, she'd walk around, and she'd get a diaper and sit down and lay the diaper on her lap, and she'd say, "Come on, May, come on." And she'd go diaper her.
Pause for a minute.
At Orville Dean, we had a
Oh, yeah.
tornado go through when we lived there at Manning, and a tornado went through. It didn't come down, but it went through. You could see it was a
Yeah,
tornado.
yeah. So you saw it?
Yeah, and Orville Dean come running in, and he said, "We saw a twister." We just about died laughing at him. We saw a twister.
Did he stutter a lot? Did he
Yeah,
stutter?
when he got excited.
Oh.
Well, that's about all I can
That's all right.
think of right now.
Wait just a second. We need to pause a minute.
For kids,
Play. Record.
sure, Soph had pimples on her face. And I don't know, maybe I told you this before, and she read in the book or something that you'd beat up egg yolks and put on your face.
Where were you living?
We was living in Brook Bottom, in the bottom. We wasn't married.
Oh, I know, but what part of what's the closest city?
Wathena, Kansas.
Oh, Wathena. Okay.
Wathena, yeah. Out in Brook Bottom.
And how old were they? How old were you?
Oh, I suppose I was 12 or 13,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Anyway, she told Ryan Raymond, "Now you watch and see if anybody comes. You be sure and tell me." And she sent us upstairs to watch out the doors. Be sure and tell me if you see anyone coming. And we got our heads together, and I told Raymond, I says, we had a porch out there. What you want?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to get some better light. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We had a porch that went out upstairs. And I told Raymond, we was upstairs watching out, and I told Raymond, I said, you go and he could slide down the post. And I said, you go slide down that post and you knock on the door and I'll not answer, so. Her go to the door. So I stood there in the stairway and he knocked on the door. So I, Beulah, Beulah. And I just kept talking to him, you know, just act like he was right there, and we was laughing, and just Raymond would say something, and Sophie would say, Beulah, Beulah, come here, somebody's at the door, come here, somebody's at the door. I didn't do it, and she had to go out and wash that off her face, and she just got on. And then she comes to the door, and there it was Raymond. I said, she could have killed us.
So where were you born at?
I was born in Troy, Kansas.
Troy, Kansas.
Mhm.
Is that back? Were you born in the home?
Huh?
You were born in the home, right there.
Yeah,
Then you were what of how many kids?
5.
5. And so where were you?
With me, I was 5.
You were number 5.
No, I was number 4.
Number
Raymond
4.
was 5.
Oh, that's right.
Soph was number 1, and then Con, and then Cheryl, and then me, and then Raymond. There's 5 of us.
And that's in Troy, Kansas.
No, Wathena.
Oh, Wathena. That's right.
In Broke Bottom.
What was that one story you told about where Uncle Shirl was always pulling tricks on you?
Yeah.
You guys. Is coming back from school or walking to school or I'm trying to remember.
Well, there's so many of them, I don't know which one you.
Well, just, can you think of any?
Well, I think of one of them when one of the girls had to stay in after school, coming down, and she run up and caught up with us, and Raymond Sherrill, he stayed, well, he was a janitor, and he, what you call it, banked the stove so it'd have coals in
yeah.
the furnace. She was there, and they come walking out together, and Sherrill picked up clods, and he said she was in there crying, and he dropped those clods for. And she, oh, I was not. Yeah, you were.
You dropped them where?
He let them drop like that's her teardrops.
Oh.
He said she's crying great big tears. And Raymond and Sherrill, no, it was Sherrill and Leo Gabriel. She had 40-some kids. One teacher had 40-some, 43.
Oh, you mean the teacher, not that they were her kids.
No, when in that school was
Yeah.
40-some kids in that school, 48 or maybe it was 60. And it was pretty big school anyway.
Yeah.
And the teacher had her hands full to watch all of them. And Sherrill and Leo Gabriel got down on her hands and knees and crawled. And they crawled out the door. And then stooped low so she couldn't see them go past the window. They went way down in the woods and got red hulls. So you know what they are, don't you?
No, what's red hulls?
Little, look like a little red apple.
Okay.
And they could eat them. And those kids went out there and got them and come back and brought us all some. Eat them right there in school. Oh, we was kind of ornery, I think.
You guys swim in the river much?
I didn't, the boys did.
Yeah.
We had it, called it the baptizing hole in the creek, where they'd baptize people. I was baptized in the creek, and so was all of Soph and Con, Cheryl, Raymond, all of us was. And we'd go sometimes when it was real hot. We'd do a wading in there, and the boys could swim. And Cheryl, I and Soph we didn't want them to get underwater.
Yeah.
Cheryl would dive under and grab her by the ankles and pull us under.
Can I make you mad?
Well, yeah.
So when did you
But
meet?
you know you couldn't stay mad at him long because he'd just laugh about it, like Lauren.
Yeah, yeah. So when did you meet Grandpa? Where?
Well, it was in the country out by, do you know where Patty's folks lived?
I don't know, Patty.
Patty Lee's wife.
Oh, yeah,
She's out in the country.
yeah.
It was out in there is where they had, it wasn't hers, Moscow's who it was.
Yeah, that's Aunt Pat's.
The folks,
Yeah, Moscow's.
Moscow's, we picked berries for 'em, strawberries.
Okay.
And Harold picked strawberries, and I met him in a strawberry patch.
And so when do you guys decide? Did you guys date?
Oh yeah, for about a year.
What were your dates like? What'd you do?
Go over to St. Joe at the Orpheum Theater to show.
What was it called?
Orpheum Theater.
And what kind of? You see a movie?
Yeah.
Picture show? Were they silent movies?
No.
No. What kind of movies?
Well, westerns.
Do you remember any?
John Wayne and
Oh yeah. You remember any of them?
no, not very well.
No. No.
I know John Wayne. Harold usually pick them with John Wayne in them.
Yeah. So Grandpa, he had a car, or he borrowed his dad's car, or?
Well, Harold's dad never could drive, so he got the car for Harold. So that's right. Harold's the only one that ever drove.
Yeah. Do you know what kind of car it was?
A Buick.
A Buick. Huh.
I don't know what. One of them was 32. I remember that.
So how did Grandpa ask you to marry him? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
So where'd you get married at?
Troy, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even go to church. We got married in
Baptist church or
no,
Methodist?
it wasn't in a church. It was
Oh.
where you buy your license and things.
Mary, the courthouse?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's probably common somewhat, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, everybody
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. And so, where did you guys live when you first got married?
We lived with his folks there in Burrock Bottom for
Okay.
the first year. Next year we moved to Maryville, and I and Harold had 2 houses on it, and I and Harold lived in the little house. We lived there for 2 years. And then we moved to Lake City. And that's when Orville and Eloise moved up then.
Okay, yeah.
That's when we got that big house, and Eloise and Orville lived in part of it, and I and Harold in the
Yeah.
other part.
So, where did Grandpa and his parents, they live in Troy? Are they originally from Troy?
No, Hiawatha.
Hiawatha. So they were in Hiawatha and you're in Troy,
Mhm.
Kansas? Okay. And you guys moved up to Lake City?
Well,
a farm outside Lake City.
they moved, Harold's folks from Hiawatha, they moved there at the bottom where we were.
Yeah. And then how long were you at that place there by Lake City? Or what was the next farm you moved to?
Well, we lived down by, I and Harold, we lived down by West Side. And that's when we met Aldaig's. And that's who Nola was named after, Nola Ray.
Mm-hmm.
It was Aldaig's daughter. And from there, I think we moved to Manning.
Manning, Iowa?
Mhm.
What was that when Grandpa had the tractor flip over and broke his hip?
No, that was at,
That was later?
where we used to live, right there.
Yeah, over there by Laurelville.
Yeah, well, it was Lanesboro.
Oh, closer to Lanesboro, you mean? That's where, okay, that's before you moved to the house over by Laurelville.
No, it was after.
Okay. So, Mom was born in Missouri, right?
Now
Okay.
wait, I'm getting things mixed up.
I think you have them turned around because Lanesboro was after Laurelville,
Yeah,
and Laurelville was the one that us boys would come up and spend the summer with you at. And there was a farm before that, the house he lived at before that, which I don't know what that is. I know we've driven by there, and you pointed out the ditch that the tractor turned
well, that
over
was
on.
there. That was there at Lanesboro, where he upset the tractor.
Okay, yeah. Now talking about Mom. Mom was born in, where was she born at?
She was born down Troy, Kansas.
Troy, Kansas. Okay, so she was born in Troy, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Then where was Twyla born at?
She was born at home there at, well, our address was Manning.
Okay, Manning, Iowa.
But too, she
Wait a
was
minute.
born there, but
Wait a minute. We're good. Okay. So Twyla was born near Manning,
mhm.
Iowa, and Nola was born
Nola
Same.
was born in Manila.
Manila, Iowa.
Mhm. It was right there close to Manning, but they was, they called it what did they call it? Mother and Babies Hospital or something. And it was just raised for women that was having children.
So Nola was born in
Manila.
Manila, but it wasn't a home. She was born in it was like a hospital, or
Well, it was what did they call it? Nursery or something. They didn't call it nursery, they called it I don't remember what they
I
called
was
it.
looking it up. Manila.
When she went to school, somebody asked her, where she's born, and she said vanilla.
Oh, okay. So that's south of here.
That's southwest,
South.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
southwest of here.
That's down around Manning, not far.
Okay, yeah. I know why that sounds familiar because I probably rode my bicycle through one of those towns on a ragbri.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Manning. Yeah. And then you moved up. So he had a farm around Manning? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
And did he have a farm near Manila? Or was it the same farm? It's just that.
No, it was a different farm.
And was this with his dad?
Yeah.
How long did he farm with his dad? Or I should say, when did he stop farming with his dad and he started farming on his own?
Well, Harold's dad, he always was hunting something better, something better, something better. And it was moving every year. And I told Harold, I said, I'm getting tired of this. We went from Kansas to Maryville. And from Maryville to Iowa. And I said, that's it. I'm not going to move anymore when it was there, Manning. And Harold said, well, I don't have he was using his dad's stuff, but he was farming Harold's doing all the farming, because Harold's dad never did drive a tractor or anything like that.
What did his dad do?
Nothing, only boss. He had horses and mules, and he'd always be busy of working on the harness or something. He just piddled. He's a bit of piddled.
I'm gonna make some better light. I'm gonna remove this for a sec and then we'll put it back when we're done.
Well, that might have another light that go up. That might be a three-way light.
Well, I just need to uncover it, that's all. Add a little more. Is that better, Quinn? Or now we have a
You
shadow?
want more light over there.
Yeah, I can't really do it. Okay, pause. So, I was looking on a map. So they went from Maryville. Okay, ready? Oh, tell me when you're recording. So it went from Maryville to Manning to Manila, what Nola called Vanilla. And then from there, you moved to near Lanesboro. And Lanesboro is where Grandpa.
It's where the barn blew down, you was there when that happened, wasn't you?
Well, that's near Lorville. That's near Lorville. That one. That's the one where the house where Lauren still farms.
Yeah.
And that's Lorville.
Well, we was at Lanesboro before that.
Yeah, so at Lanesboro is whenever he had the tractor flip over.
Yeah, it was.
So tell that story about, it was right before, it was around, remember you were telling me that he wrecked the tractor turned over, he broke his hip, he needed his fields harvested.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get that done?
There was 25 tractors come in and done it all in one day.
I mean, did someone come up to you and say, hey, we want to do this?
No,
Or,
they just went in and did it.
so how did you know they were doing it?
Well, of course, the land was right out there in front of her house.
You just saw a bunch of tractors show
Yeah.
up?
And the ladies showed up to help me get lunch for them all.
So how many tractors were there?
I think there was about 25.
So what did you pay them to do that?
They wouldn't take nothing.
Yeah?
And the gas man was the Merle Dial. And he come out and furnished the gas for all of them, and he wouldn't take a penny for it.
Huh.
It was,
That probably wasn't cheap.
no, of course I don't know what brand of gas that he drove a gas truck, you know.
Yeah.
But it was the
I
company.
mean, I didn't know, but yeah.
The company's the one that put the bill for the gas. No, that we had awful good neighbors there, I tell you.
How long was he in the hospital?
30 days.
Oh wow, for a whole month.
He was in traction, had that leg in traction for 30 days, and a big weight hanging on it.
Yeah. Did they have to do a hip replacement
No.
at that time? They didn't do it at that time. Yeah. So it seems like, didn't you have some video of that or some 8mm that maybe I'm thinking something different. I don't know.
I don't think we did. I don't think anybody had a camera then.
Okay. Tell some of the, remember some of the times we come up there and go fishing?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the time you fell in the creek?
Yeah. The bank gave away with me.
I think Blake and I were with you or something
You
when
were?
that happened, yeah. So what do you remember about that? What were you doing on the side of the creek there?
We was fishing. Sitting on the bank, you know, sitting on the, and that was kind of washed under, and that give away, and I and the chunk went right in the creek. Don't you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Do you remember? Well, maybe you don't, but Lauren and Elsie was down on the creek, and there wasn't any adults with them. Lauren and Elsie and Twyla, and wasn't any adults with them. They shouldn't have been down there, but they thought they was out playing. And Lauren fell in, I guess, and Elsie jumped in and pulled him out.
Was Lauren little? He must have been little.
Well, they weren't too little. Must have been 5 or 6 years old.
Mom was?
Oh, your mom was older than that.
Oh, okay, okay.
That Lauren and Twyla, I was saying, was 5 or 6.
Oh, okay.
Elsie's 4 years older. They are.
Oh, okay.
She's probably 12, 13, somewhere around
But
there.
they weren't supposed to be down there. They get in trouble?
Well, I don't know. We're so glad to have them until didn't drown.
Trying to think of another one. Okay, pause. Do you remember the one where Blake and I were fishing? From the old farmhouse. It was straight down to the creek, and we caught a snapping turtle.
Yeah, you carried it up on
The fishing rod
fishing
pole.
pole. Yeah,
Because we couldn't get them off the hook.
no.
We needed you to do it.
And do you know what we did with it?
No, what would we do?
You don't remember that?
Huh?
We took it over to Catherine McDonald, and she killed it and cooked it and served us some.
Snapping turtle? I don't remember that.
You don't?
I just remember running up and getting you. Because Blake was holding it
Yeah.
at the time.
We carried it up on that and with the hook in its mouth, and we took it over to Catherine's that way. You ought to remember that.
I don't. I just remember
And
catching
she
it.
took it and she took that and pulled it out that way and chopped its head off.
I don't remember
And then
that.
she cleaned it and cooked it. It's good.
And we ate it?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Huh.
Tastes a little bit like chicken.
I think everything tastes like chicken.
Well, turtle soup, you've heard of that, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
That turtle is kind of delicate.
Yeah. I just remember Uncle Raymond bringing his net, fishing net, and went down the creek and threw it in and pulled it in, and he had all kinds of fish, and he had one of those soft shell turtles, and he made turtle soup out of that.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember the black and white, was it a Buick?
Yeah, we had a black and white Buick.
And we go fishing in it. We take it, driving back, throw the fishing rods in there and go fishing.
We kept that just for our fishing car. That's when we had it was a beige colored, what I want to say. It had a name. What kind was it? It was a Buick, but.
I thought it was black and white.
Yeah, the one that we was kept for a fish. That was our fishing.
Yeah.
And then we had one that was a beige colored one that we drove to town, and that was Harold, and anything that he wanted to work, he'd jump in that old Buick.
Yep. Do you remember that time that I was up there and I was climbing up in the tree over where Grandpa had fueled the tractors up? And I was climbing on it and the limb broke.
I don't
You don't remember that?
No.
I remember, or maybe it was Blake that fell out. Or,
Seems like I do too, but
or do you remember the time I rode on the back of the bicycle of with Blake, and I got my toes in the spokes.
I don't remember that. Do you
Cut 'em
remember? Do you remember Blake? I don't know if you was with him or not, but you know we had an air conditioner. That was over at Laurville. We had an air conditioner in that living room, and
No, that's at Lanesboro. The air conditioner was in that house that the last house you lived in. You had an AC and it was up high above the TV.
no, that this is one that was in the window. We had a window one. It was over at Laurville.
I don't remember AC in there, but go ahead.
We had it. It fit in the window.
Uh-huh.
And what was I going to tell you about it? Oh, it had just the front of it was in the window, and the rest of it was hanging at the back, and had braces or something to hold it up. And Blake was running, and he run around and hit his head on that.
Well, that's what's wrong with him to this day.
Is that it? I never will forget that.
Do you have any good stories about Bullet?
You know what he said?
What?
Blake. He says, Grandma, do you think I did something bad and that was Jesus punishing me? And I said, no, Jesus don't do that. So he was even thinking that time.
Yeah. That's funny. Do you remember any good stories about Bullet?
No, I don't.
Oh, I remember. You told us stories about Bullet and the skunk.
Oh, that's Butch.
Oh, Butch.
Butch Bullet was Mom's dog.
Okay.
Oh, that little dog. He was a wonderful little dog, and we raised him from a little pup. He was just a mutt. Gerald had a little dog, Gerald Scouten, and she's just a little black dog. Well, and she was in heat, and she got out, and she got pregnant, and he was and we picked him out when she had her pups, and he's the best little dog we ever had.
Was he the one that met up with the skunk?
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do with with your dog whenever it gets in a skunk? Get rid of the stink.
Oh, put tomato juice on them. Rub
So-
tomato juice in their hair and their fur.
Did you put him in the bathtub?
Oh no,
No.
I did.
Well, did you get sprayed or Grandpa get sprayed once?
I didn't. I don't remember Grandpa did,
Oh.
but I didn't.
Huh.
But boy, they sure. Con and Cheryl and Raymond. When we lived, that was before I was married, and we lived in Burl Bottom. And the boys was doing something out in the field, and they found some little skunks, baby skunks, and they brought them up to the house. And I think they had about three or four. And Mom had chicken troughs. You know what a chicken trough is.
Yep.
That she fed. And they took the ends out of those and set them together and made a run all over. And they put those little skunks in there, and they'd when they milked the cows, they'd always take them some milk and feed them. And you know, those little dickens got to coming where they come out to the cows when they's milking for their milk. But they was the cutest little thing. They would turn their old tail up like they was going to spray us, but they never did.
Well, were they not able to when they were little? Didn't that
Well,
come
they
to
was
adult?
able to, but they didn't.
What happened to them?
I don't remember whatever happened to them. No, I don't know. I wish Cheryl or Con was here where I could ask them. But I don't remember whatever happened to those little skunks.
Okay, let me pause. What about the times that Grandpa would, you talk about the times where you'd fix lunch or whatever for all the Grandpa and anybody that's helping and stuff, all the people, or maybe it was when you're younger, with your mom, you'd have to fix a big old meal for all the hands that came in from...
That was Mom. That was a thrashing crew.
What's a thrashing crew?
they have a big thrash machine. And they went around from neighbor to neighbor and done their wheat. The folks raised wheat, and they would thrash the wheat. And all the neighbors would get together and they'd help one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that way they didn't have to hurry anyone.
Yeah.
And that's the way they got their field work done, and the ladies would all get together and cook the meal. They'd have, Pop was always a separator man. He's always on the separator, running it. And Bill King was always a engine man. He had a big old steam engine he pulled it with.
Is that where they had a belt that
Uh-huh.
ran it? They'd run a belt that attached to the
Yeah.
tractor and
Yeah.
attached to the thrasher, and it would,
Yeah. Then they had wagons that they'd throw the bales into the
yeah.
conveyor belt and take it in.
But anyways, going back to the food, you talked about.
Oh, that Mom would go to town and she'd buy great big bunch of meat and stuff. I don't know what, to me at that time it was terrible big. And the ladies would all get together and they'd cook that meal and they'd set up tables out in the yard and feed them out in the yard.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, so how much food do they fix?
Gee, I don't know that.
Or what kind of food?
Oh, beef roasts and a lot of times they'd make they'd have rings of fire out that they'd cook some stuff on because it was,
What kind of vegetables?
I don't remember.
Probably corn.
I imagine. I don't remember what I can just remember, I probably didn't pay attention what it was, but I can remember Bertha Denny and all them coming over and them working out there, have their aprons on, and us
And-
kids played around just so we got something to eat. That's all we cared.
And then I remember watermelon. We'd always have watermelon out there at the farmhouse.
Pop was a big watermelon person.
A lot of watermelon. Pause.
I remember this guy.
Cliff Halst. Nope.
He'd come there and seen your mom, and they didn't get on up here to see us.
Yeah.
Now that's a cousin of mine.
You know, hold it up again. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah.
That was, he's my cousin. And I thought that all the time that he was older than me, but he wasn't. His birthday was March 29th, 2014.
How old is he?
Well, I thought it told here, but yeah, 90 years old.
90 years old. Where's he live at?
Washington.
Oh, out in Washington.
Uh-huh.
So he's a cousin how?
He's Pop's sister's son.
And his sister is?
Her name's Pearl.
Okay.
Pearl Halstead. Yeah, he was, it says here, honoring Clifford Halstead's 98 years young. Date March 29th, 1914. The place at the North Discovered Place Room 109, Spokane Valley, Washington. Time 1 to 4 p.m.
Now, the question I didn't ask you, that I should ask at the beginning, is like, how old are you?
Me?
Mm-hmm. I know normally you're not supposed to ask those questions, but, so how old are you? What?
April the 9th. That's coming up pretty quick.
Mhm.
I will be 95.
So here in a few weeks you'll be 95.
Yeah. And Elsie's just 20 years younger.
And she was born in January.
Yeah.
So what year were you born?
I was born 1919.
1919. Well, that's not too long ago. Does it seem like a long time?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You don't seem like you're 94 or going to be 95.
That's what Chad said. He said, I'll do good if I'm as good as, get around as good as you when I'm 60. No, he just goes on how.
Well, there are a lot of people that are younger than you that don't get around very well because you live by yourself
Yeah,
and you live. What is it? It's a duplex.
yeah. That lady over there, she lives alone, but she has meals delivered to her. She has a lady to come in and bathe her and
Mm.
and you know,
And you do that yourself.
yeah.
And you do some cleaning. You're telling me how much you clean a little, sleep a little, clean a little, sleep.
I do, and if I didn't have Randy to wash my windows on the outside, I don't think they'd get washed very often. But he'll do that. He'll come around and wash those. But he did that when he lived here. I missed him when he moved away because
Yeah.
he'd carry my, when he set cans and things out, you know, in our tub, he'd always bring that in. Now Chad will go out and get his, but he never picks mine up.
Yeah.
Randy'd always pick mine up and bring up, set it there. One morning I got up and mine was sitting there and I thought, oh gee, Chad's picked up and I come find out Nola was up by. Picked it up. Her and Sam had went out for breakfast, and while they was out, she just run up here and picked it
Yeah.
up.
Well, you had chickens on the farm.
Oh yeah.
Remember those times? I just barely remember those times where you would slaughter some chickens.
Oh yeah.
Like you're quick with that. You'd grab the chicken, throw it down there, put a board over its
Pull it.
neck, just pop its head off, and then you would dunk it in
Hot water.
hot water. You'd hand it to his kids to hang on to. You don't let them flop.
A lot of times I would kill too many, and if I didn't have somebody to hang on to them, I had a wire. I'd stick their legs up and hang them on the fence till I got them all scalded. Then I picked them.
But that was good chicken. We'd have fried chicken that night or something.
That Laureen Farmer's cousin was there, and he was dressing them for her. She called me, wanted to know if I'd come over and help dress chickens, and I said sure. So she put me and him out. I can't remember what his name was, and I could pick about three chickens to him one. He went in and told Laureen. He said her fingers just flew. But he'd go out and pick them like this, and I'd grab a hand there and just. Her hand just flew. Her fingers just flew.
What's one of your favorite memories? I'm sure you have more than one, but
Oh gee, I don't know. One that stands out, I remember, is Blake running around and hitting. I think that's because he made a little gash in his head and about scared me to death.
that's a favorite memory.
Well, it's one that you don't forget.
Yeah,
It's my favorite, no.
that's one that sticks out.
Yeah.
What's one of your scariest memories? Or exciting?
When I was about 10, no, I wasn't 10 yet. Probably 8. And we had went over to St. Joe, Mom and Pop and I and Soph. And coming home, you know where Blair is.
Blair, Kansas?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And turned off on that Blair Road. That's the way we went home. And we went to, there was a grocery store just straight across. I don't forget what it was called. And folks usually bought their groceries there. And then Pop was coming out of there. And about time he got crossed, there's a car coming and he couldn't stop. And he hit the back end of us and just whirled us around.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that. It didn't hurt anybody.
No one
but,
got hurt. Did it mess the car up really bad?
I don't think too bad. I think it messed his up pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think it done much to Pop. It just whirled us around.
Earlier today I was asking you about like the depression and stuff like that, but see, you don't remember much of that because you were real young. You're just talking about what did your mom do in the windows and stuff?
She used to cool off the house. She used to wet towels and hang up in the window, let the wind blow through them.
And what else was it that you remembered that with the dust?
Oh, and she'd hang the wet towels up, and they'd be, when that dust blowed in, the towels would just be black.
Yeah.
And what stands out to me about Mom was she had a big iron kettle, great big iron, we always called it the old iron kettle. And I don't know how much water it held. And Pop had made her a rack to hang it on. It had a big bale. And they would build a fire under it and heater wash water. And I can remember that so much, and her dipping that water out into a tub she washed out in the yard.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. Where did you live? In Troy?
We
During
lived
this?
down in Broke Bottom in Wathena, north
Near
of
Wathena.
yeah.
Okay, okay. And then after that, the next biggest thing would have been World War II. And
Well, that's what Raymond went to. That was when we lived at Manning.
what year were you and Grandpa married? You remember what year?
Bless Helen. She gave me something I can always remember. February 26, 1937.
37. So before World War II started up. Oh yeah. Can I hold
What'd
that
you
up
say?
again? Can I hold that up again? For Quinn. So that was before World War II.
Yeah,
How old were you when you got married?
I was 17.
17. How old was Grandpa?
24, I think.
24.
Yeah.
24. But that's pretty common back then. So of the World War II, what stands out in your mind about World War II?
Well, when it broke out, World War II, Raymond, he was so mad, Japanese, and he was so mad that he's going to enlist right then, and he did. And Mom and Pop had to go sign for him.
Because he's how old?
I think he's 17,
Yeah.
and they had to sign for him to get in.
So what do you think of that? Or do you think much about that at the time?
No, but I can remember when he come home, we were so tickled to see him get home.
Was that after the war? You mean after the war or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he stayed in all 4 years.
Yeah. And he was in the Navy. Yeah. So what was
I could just kick myself for, he gave me his battleship that he was on. He was on a battleship. And I had the picture of that. It was his,
what battleship do you remember?
USS Edison.
Edison?
And I had the picture of that and had it hanging up in the, and when Rick come up here,
Who's Rick?
Rick, that's Raymond's son,
Oh, okay.
Rick Cullum.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And I feel a close relative to Raymond, and I figured that he ought to have that picture of that ship that he was on. And I give it to him, and the last time I seen him, his wife said that they didn't even know where it was. They'd left it somewhere. I said, I can just kick myself for giving it to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he ought to have it.
I kind of remember that. Because you were in Lanesboro then.
Mm-hmm.
In the house there.
Yeah. And I had found out Rick was pretty good before she come up, you know. He come up a couple weeks before she did. And he'd go to church with us every Sunday. And he was just real. And as soon as she come, he never come back to church once, and she didn't either.
That's too bad.
So I think it was her that was, and she'd buy liquor for those girls, those kids at home. I went over one Sunday morning, and there they was all sitting there drinking.
Well, go back to World War II.
World War II?
World War II. What was home life like during World War II?
I don't know.
There on the farm with Grandpa and stuff. Because Grandpa didn't go. He didn't have to. He didn't get drafted or enlisted because.
No, but he would have if he hadn't have been a farmer.
Yeah. But did you have to have rations and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean. What was farm? What was life during?
We had rationing books, and in so many stamps you could get so much sugar, and so much meat, and so much. Told you how much you could get. Well, the people in this was at Audubon when I had my ration book, and the fella there, we had all the meat, you know, we butchered ourselves, and we had all the meat we wanted. We didn't need those meat tickets. And those people at that grocery store would trade me their sugar stamps for my meat stamps.
Yeah.
So we had all you couldn't get much sugar or syrup or anything, but we didn't have to worry because I traded my meat for.
Well, how come you didn't eat that much meat? You guys just didn't eat that much?
We butchered our own.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Huh.
Didn't have to buy it.
Yeah, so that's the advantage of being on a farm. Had all the stuff.
No, we always had meat.
Do you remember when Kennedy was shot? Where were you and what were you doing? How did you find out?
I was with your mom and dad, and Harold was driving the car. We was coming home from Fort Dodge. And it come over the radio. We had the radio in the car going.
What
I never will forget that.
What do you all think of that?
You know, I said you'd read about it, but I never thought it would happen here.
Yeah. Were you guys concerned about the Soviet Union or anything like that?
Sure.
Or?
Still am.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's Russia.
Yeah.
What about the first man on the moon? You remember that?
Was that
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong? Yeah. I don't know. That didn't.
Was it quite as big of a deal?
No. Well, it was a big deal but to me it didn't mean too much.
Yeah. Did you watch it on TV when they showed it?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about Martin Luther King when he was shot?
Well, that was kind of a sad thing
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But there's nothing you can do about it.
No. Trying to think of any other big events.
I was trying to think if I could think of any. I think you've thought of them about all.
I'm a pause.
We always celebrated the 4th of July. That's one thing that Pop always seen, that we celebrated the 4th of July. And his mom he would always have his wheat cut by that time, and they'd always have to shock it in oats so if it rained it wouldn't spoil, you know, the heads was up. And him and Mom would work so hard to get that wheat all shocked before we went 4th of July. We'd always go to 4th of July for.
Was this before World War II?
Yeah. And I can remember that Raymond was little. Well, I suppose I was too. And Soph, Pop had
Yes, it would have been.
a two-seated car. I don't know what kind it was or anything, but Soph was in the back seat and she was holding Raymond on her lap. And I don't know if Pop stopped kind of quick or what. Door flew open and Raymond fell out.
Did he get hurt?
No. But it's a wonder he didn't.
What did your mom think of that?
remember.
No. How old were you, probably? Pretty young?
Yeah. Raymond was on Soph's lap, and he was little, so I probably wasn't over 3 or 4 years old.
I remember you mentioning something about maybe it was your dad carried a gun, or was it his dad that carried a gun, a pistol? Tell me about that.
I don't know if I can get it straight or not for sure.
Well, we won't know the difference. You could make it up.
Now I don't know that there's two different stories about it. But there was land dispute. There was what they do, they run and put their stake,
Oh,
what do they call that?
it's like whenever there's down in Oklahoma, they just let them run and you stake out your ground.
Stake out your ground.
You claim it as your property.
And there's 2 men
And this is down in Wathena, Troy, in that area.
down Wathena. There was two different men, and they got in a dispute, and Pop's dad was one of them.
What was his name? Do you remember his name? Eb?
Ab Young.
Ab? Or
Ab
Ab Young.
Young. And Harold's dad knew him. Harold's dad, after we got married, he's something said, and he said, "Sure, I knew old Ab Young real well." But what I was going to tell you was they run their stakes, and they got into a fight about it, or they got in an argument about it. And Orville King told me this. Now, Pop wouldn't tell it. A teacher said to me when I was in school, she said, there was some dispute about some land where your folks lived. She said, you go home and ask your dad about it. I went home and I was so excited, Pop was going to tell me something. And when I told him the teacher wanted to know about that, he said, you go back and tell her, mind her own damn business.
So what did you find out about that?
I didn't tell her that.
Oh, you didn't tell the teacher that?
But Pop didn't like anybody, bringing up stuff like that. But Orville King told me that he said is how comes that Ab didn't get arrested for shooting it. See, he shot the guy.
See, yeah, tell a story. What did happen?
Well, they got in dispute over this land, and this guy pulled a gun on Ab Young, and Ab up and shot him. And Orville said, he wouldn't have shot him, but he said the other guy drawed first. But I didn't, Pop never did tell us that. I got this all from Orville King. And Pop and Bill, Orville's dad, were buddies.
Yeah, yeah.
Pop never did, and he wouldn't talk about it. But only when the teacher told me to ask him what happened, he said, you go back and tell her. None of her damn business.
So that Pop's dad.
Yeah.
That did that.
Ab
Young. Was he the one that also, when he'd go in town, he always carried a pistol under the seat in the wagon, or?
I think that was Harold's dad.
Okay. What do you remember being told about that?
I don't know. Only he said that was when he did that. He said that pistol was the law.
Yeah.
And he said everybody carried it, so he carried it. He didn't sell that pistol until he got there to Lanesboro, and he sold it to somebody at Rockwell City.
Grandpa's dad did?
Mm-hmm. Harold said, I'd like to have that.
Yeah. He must have needed some money.
Well, no, I just think he wanted to get rid of it.
Oh, yeah.
But if he'd have told us that he wanted to get rid of it, Harold would have taken it.
What was Grandpa's dad's name?
Grandpa Hum's?
Yeah.
Oh, Henry.
Henry. Henry Hum?
John Henry.
John Henry.
John Henry.
Because then Grandpa was John Harold Hum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Remember you telling about the pistol, or maybe Grandpa's telling about his dad carrying the pistol under the seat when he
Yeah.
kicked a wagon. But he didn't say much about it.
His aunt too, Grandpa's sister.
Carried a pistol?
No, but she kept a gun close by, so her husband, I think, worked quite a bit at night.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did, I don't remember. But she was home alone so much at night. She thought she heard somebody at the door. She went, have I told you this?
Huh.
She went to the door and she said, who is it? Who is it? You answer me. You answer me or I'm going to shoot. Nobody answered her, so she did shoot. Right through the door. And then she was scared to death to go look. Thought she might have killed somebody.
So what happened?
Nothing, that was it.
Well, who checked?
She shot through the door. They had put a new door on, but there wasn't anyone out there.
Who was this?
That's Harold's aunt, Grandpa Hum's sister.
What's her name?
Uh,
She the one lived out in Boise?
oh no, you're getting.
Oh, aunt.
This is Harold's dad's sister.
Okay, yeah.
What was her name?
Oops, I just stopped.
I can't think what her name was. She'd say, now, brother, you're going to get in trouble picking those hitchhikers up. He'd pick up hitchhikers. He'd pick up a hitchhiker along the road and bring him home to work for him.
Grandpa.
Harold's dad.
So Henry, John Henry.
Yeah. Yeah. He brought home a hitchhiker one time, and that guy was upstairs. We had him a room upstairs. Well, I and Harold had a room up there too. But I was so uneasy with that guy, and we had a rocking chair similar to this up there, and it had a leather seat. And the seat was kind of wore out here, and it had this, what do you call this here? A saucer, or kind of wood-like.
Oh, plywood or
No,
veneer?
it shaved, you know, for a
Sandpaper?
Sandpaper?
Huh?
Sandpaper?
No, it was wood, but it was real. That's what they used to use for stuffing for stuff.
Oh,
Anyway,
sawdust.
yeah, something like that. And I'd go up and make his bed. Well, that chair had a crack in the seat of it, had leather. And I noticed that sawdust was always on the floor. And I thought, well, now what's happening? Why is that always on the floor? So sure, he got. And we thought, well, he said, wasn't anything under there. He said, I bet he's got something in his suitcase. He said that he puts under there, a pencil or something. And so he opened the suitcase, and then we got scared. And he shut it back up because it was all packed with boxes and things, and we got scared, didn't know what we'd find, shut it back up, and didn't tell anyone we went down there. But the next morning, that guy got up and left. Got up that morning and
He didn't say anything? He just,
didn't eat breakfast with us, he didn't say anything, just walked down the road.
so you don't know what was up with the...
No.
Huh, that's weird.
It was weird. I said, Grandpa would pick up, he did darndest thing, and Aunt Belle, she'd say, now brother, you're going to get in trouble picking up them hitchhikers.
I'll pause.
You knew Corbin Lucas, didn't you?
No, that doesn't ring a bell with me. I was real young. I didn't know a lot of people.
Yeah, but Edna Lucas, well, your mom knew her real well.
Well, but you realize when we moved away from Iowa, I was 4 years old.
Yeah, but when Edna lived down there, she promised Elsie, Corbin used to come up and see us all the time, but Corbin promised Elsie the dining room set. And he died before his second wife did, and Elsie didn't get nothing.
Yeah, I don't.
But that was his wish. That was Aunt Belle's wishes that Elsie get that.
Oh, yeah.
She asked me if I'd rather have that or sheets, and that time I was needing sheets, so I got my sheets and pillowcases.
And who is Aunt Belle?
Aunt Belle, that's Grandpa Hum's sister. Great-grandpa, or Harold's dad's sister.
Is that the one that shot through the door?
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun.
I can't think of any other. I'll pause.
I think I've told you about all I remember.
Yeah. I was just trying to remember some other things.
I remember one time, they'd sent us to garden. Our garden was probably 3 or 4 blocks, I'd say, from our house that it was on.
Wow, I was way out there.
Yeah, it was. And
Was it big? It was a big garden then.
yeah. And Mom sent Ein Con out to bring, I had a load of ear corn and I don't know what all we had to bring back. And I know I had an armload of something. And we come up on, and I don't know if you know what a copperhead snake is.
I do. Uh-huh.
There laid one. And when he seen us coming, he just stopped right still. And Con, he told me, he says, you just step back a little while, and he says, I'll go around and go home and get something, come back and kill him. He said, he won't move as long as you're there. He said, I'll come back and kill him.
So he made you stay?
He told me to stay, but I didn't stay.
I don't think I would have stayed.
No, I took off after he got. I took off, and he come back so mad because he wanted to kill that snake. I took off.
That's a good one. You stay here.
Yeah, that's what he told me. I was scared to death of snakes, and this one time that was when Cheryl lived there you remember when he lived in that house there, across from the rodeo grounds.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In Lake City.
Yeah, and he had some evergreen trees there, and we was out looking at them. And I was standing there, and I didn't know what they was kind of talking about, him and Cheryl. And pretty soon Harold said to me, he says, you're standing on a snake. And I guess I jumped. And I guess I really was.
Were you? What kind was it?
Well, just garter snake.
Oh.
Anyway, I jumped up and it scared me to death. And Cheryl, he went down to get something to come back to kill the snake. And you could hear him just laugh out the bar. Just laughing. Oh, I and him's had a lot of fun together. I could kill him sometimes. Mom had a big old, I don't know if it's 10 gallon, I think it's 20-gallon jar. Big old jar. Big. And I was playing, I don't know why I did it, but I got my feet on the outside of it and my knees across, and I slipped down in, and I couldn't get out. And I told her, Cheryl, I said, I can't get out, because when it went down, it bent my feet back.
Oh.
I couldn't get them. Cheryl, he come to help me out, and I said, break the jar.
What?
Break the jar. I said, break that. He just died laughing. We said, break that to get me.
Did he break it?
No.
How'd you get out?
He just reached in and pulled my foot back.
Oh. Oh, brother. Do you remember the old bridge you'd have to cross, go back to the farm there near Lorville? The farmhouse,
Oh, the old bridge, yeah.
the old bridge.
Mhm, you could hear that rattling. Yeah,
Does that bring back memories?
yep.
So what it sound like?
I knew when anyone was coming, 'cause it would really rattle.
You can hear it all the way up the hill.
Yeah, I got to either know they're coming to my place or Catherine McDonald's.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you, we've been in, Catherine been in kind of, Wade Clover, you know, accidentally shot himself.
Who?
Wade Clover.
I don't know.
He lived, well, down at the corner of the first house. Ethel was the music teacher, and our kids took music lessons from her. Well, Ethel died, and Wade was, I don't know what he was doing outside, but Mac went by and seen him laying out, and
Who's Mac?
Irving McDonald that lived across the road
Oh,
from
okay.
us. He went by and he come up and told me, he said, you'll call us. What did he tell me to call? Anyway, I called the sheriff. I didn't call who he told me to. Because he said Wade is, I come by there and he said Wade has shot himself. And you know, they questioned me and they questioned Catherine. They just had us about a nervous wreck. Question us.
Thinking you shot him?
Well, I think they thought we did. And,
Did he kill him?
oh yeah,
Oh, it killed him.
oh yeah, he was dead. And Matt didn't see it happen. He just went by and seen him there and was gonna talk to him
At his house?
at his house. And the gun was laying up against, that's what Matt, he said, I don't understand how that happened. Because Wade had fell back this way and the gun was laying just like he'd laid it back. He says, I don't see how that happened, but,
Do you think it was an accident or suicide?
well, they think it was an accident. I think his wife, I think she thought it was suicide all along. But I don't, because Wade was liked by everybody. He wasn't. And you know what, they got out. Wade been to our place just, maybe an hour or so before that. And Harold gave him a $10 check that he owed. He come and drove Harold's tractor for a while. And Wade stopped there and Harold said, I'm gonna pay you for driving the tractor there out in the field. No, Wade says, I don't want nothing. Yes, Harold said, you do. So he gave him a $10 check. Wade said he wouldn't take anything any more than that. So Harold gave him that $10 check and they
That's
told,
probably a lot of money back then, wasn't it? Or was that?
I guess it was because the talk was in town that somebody killed Wade for that great big check he got. Yeah, they said, oh, he got a big check. Somebody killed him. I said, $10 check. That's just how things get started.
Uh-huh. So you guys got asked a lot of questions by the police?
Oh, good night. They drilled us and drilled us. And
Did they take you into the police station?
Oh, no, they come out the house. But they asked me, they said, does he eat breakfast at home? I said, well, yes. And then I thought, I don't know. I said, when I said yes, I said, I don't know. Maybe he don't eat breakfast. I didn't know. But if he did, I suppose he'd eat it at home.
But how would you know?
I don't know. That's what he asked me anyway.
What else did they ask you?
That's the only thing I remember he asked me. He asked me several other things, but it didn't amount to anything. But that, Maggie, so Catherine, she got, they went question her too. And Maggie kept telling us, boy, you two are in trouble.
So he was like making it worse.
Yeah, he was. Then he's laughing at us, and we was both a nervous wreck.
Was Mac getting asked questions? Did they talk to Mac
Well, I think so.
and Grandpa?
No, not Harold. He wasn't even there.
I didn't know that.
He was out in the field. But I know I was so upset over it. And they said, you better let Harold know he was out in the field. And I got in the car and went, he could have kicked me. I went right down the corduroy.
Oh, did you run over corn? So you ruined some of the corn.
Yeah, I did. I think he had to replant it.
Did he yell at you?
No, he never did yell at me.
Did Grandpa never yell?
No.
Well, how did he get when he got upset? Or did he ever get
I
upset?
never knew him getting upset. If he did, he didn't show it.
Well, he did for some of us kids. He'd get a switch. We'd run around the house, and he'd be like, if you guys want to run,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
then we'll make you run. He'd have a switch, and we'd have to run around the house, run around the house, run around the house. Remember that?
Yeah.
And you didn't save us.
Oh boy. Reminisce back to the old times, kind of brings back a lot of memories.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good ones.
I remember Cody when he was little, and there was snow blowed up against the barn. You know that roof come down kind of low, and he could walk up that and walk up clear up on top of the barn. And he wrote a story about it in his school. That he was out to his Grandpa Hum's barn, and he walked up on top, walked up the snow bank up on the barn and went clear to the top. And I mean, we walked up the barn, on the roof of the barn. And he wrote that. And it was a nice letter or thing that he wrote. He did it for school. And Sherry was just going to throw it away. Because I said, no, don't throw that away. He went to a lot of trouble. So I took it down and had it laminated and give it back to her. But he was just a little tight. That was something that he did all that.
You remember making like homemade ice cream?
Oh yeah,
You do that very much?
we did a lot.
A lot of stuff was, all the gatherings are around eating, wasn't it normally?
We used to, when I was a kid at home, Mom and Pop would, Bill King, Orville and Wood, was about Con and Cheryl's age, and Ethel and Bill, they'd all come to our place. And pretty near every time they'd come, they'd make homemade ice cream. So we had ice cream about every weekend. And there's one time, you know, and they didn't have an ice cream freezer. They used a bucket, I don't know if it was a 5-gallon bucket or what, but I know it's a bucket. And then a gallon bucket is what they made the ice cream in. And they put it down in there and then they turned the bucket with a handle.
Mm-hmm.
And they made some, it worked pretty good. But they wore a hole in the bucket and salt got in the ice cream.
No.
So, but when they tasted it, when they opened it up and tasted it, they said, we can't eat that, we'll just take it out and throw it all out. They took it out and threw it out, and what did those boys do but go out there and eat it?
They still ate it?
It's a wonder they didn't get sick, but they didn't.
What boys was it?
Wood and Orville and
Oh.
Earl and Cod.
Oh.
Well, I've had some good times that way, and I've had some that was really kind of bad. I don't know if you've ever heard about these or not. And that was after Soph was married. And we was coming home from church once. And then her husband Lee, he was a bad drinker. And Emmett Denning was too.
And who was that? Or just a friend?
Emmett Denning was just a neighbor there of ours. And we was coming home from church one night, and there Lee and Emmett was in the road with a lantern and a bottle, and they stopping all the cars that come through there from church. And when we come up, well, he stopped us and he come up to the door and he looked in. He said, "Well, you're my wife, aren't you?" She said, "I don't know if I am or not."
What was he stopping them doing?
Just for honoring us, I guess. And so we come on home, and it wasn't long till he come home. And he come upstairs, and he wanted to know where the shotgun was. He was going out and kill Emmett.
Oh.
And so and I think he wanted to know where the shells was. He had the gun. And Pop had to get up and go down. And he was out, but he had the wrong shells that wouldn't go in that gun. He had a double-barrel shotgun, I think. Anyway, Pop said he had the wrong shells. It wouldn't have worked. But Pop had to go out in his underclothes, out in the middle of the road. And Emmett and, his house started. They wanted to, they was talking. We could hear them from our bedroom upstairs. And they said, "Let's fight." And, well, Emmett said, "What do we fight about?" Lee says, he says, "I'll say this bottle's mine and you say it's yours." Okay, so that's what they did, and they really got in a fight. They got in a fight, and then Lee come to get the gun. He's going to kill Emmett. And Pop had to get out and go and wrestle that gun away from him in the night. Of course, Pop wore long underwears, but he scuffled, wore his knees out.
So, did Aunt Sophie stay married to that guy very long?
No.
How long were they married?
Oh, they probably was married a year. She said she knew she was going to leave him sometime, but she said, "Oh, I just can't do it now," because I think she thought an awful lot of it. And you know, he was so deceiving. He met her in church, and he made out like he was, a good Christian. And here he was. His wife, his mother, said she told somebody, she said that girl had better go to her grave than to marry him.
Right.
His own mother said that. But you know, after him and Soph separated, he married somebody, and they had a baby, and they come down to see Mom and Pop. And he said he didn't know why him and Soph ever separated. Mom said, well, he knew. Claimed he didn't know why they ever separated. Well, he's probably so drunk he didn't.
He probably didn't remember anything.
Mm-mm. One of these guys that you couldn't help but like.
Likeable guy, but
Yeah,
messed up.
yep.
Poor choices.
But his dad was the same way. His mother was awful nice.
What was their last name?
Jones, Lee Jones.
Lee Jones?
Yeah, Soph was married to him. And when she separated from him, several years afterwards, she married another guy there in Kansas City. And they found out that he'd been in the asylum. And she woke up one morning, or he woke her up choking her. So she left him. And
How long were they married?
not very long. So
How'd she meet him?
I don't know, she's in Kansas City there.
What took her to Kansas City?
St. Joe's where they
Oh,
were.
what took her to St. Joe?
Huh?
What?
She worked there in St. Joe at the overhaul factory, I think.
Oh, so this is after she got out of school.
Oh yeah, it was after her and Lee separated.
Oh, okay.
And this guy, what was his name? I can't think what his name was. But he was kind of a ding-a-ling. And sure, Raymond had just, you know, he could just torment the dickens out of him.
Would have this been after World War II?
Oh yeah. I guess it was. I'm sure it was. Anyway, Mom had fried chicken, and I can't think of that guy's name. And Raymond says, "Oh, here, I know you want some vegetables, or you want some chicken." "No, I want some vegetables," he said. But Raymond had just tormented him. But he's the one that woke Soph up to choking her. And she called Con. And she was in St. Joe, and Con Elwood did. She called Con. And he says, Con said, "I'll be right over." So he called Raymond. He said, "Meet me at the bridge and I'll pick you up, we'll go over together." When he got there, Raymond was already across the bridge. And they went, and this, whatever his name was, he told Mom and Bob. He said, "She took everything. She even took sheets off the bed."
Sophie did? So she left him that night?
Yeah. Con.
Who?
No, when Nola was in first or second grade, there was a little Bren boy. And he was,
What was his name?
I don't know what his name was, but he's Brand, one of Brand's. And he was taking water out to his dad in the field, and his dad ran over him with a tractor.
Oh, how old was he?
Well, they were just little, like maybe 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
And he said, the little kid looked up at him and said, "Daddy, you run over me," and then died.
Oh, that's
Wouldn't
a
that be-
terrible story.
They said that just about run that dad in the asylum.
Yeah. I want to hear positive stories.
Well, that was just a sad one. I don't know what kind of stories you want to hear now.
Well, I want to hear the one, yeah. I want to hear the one about you and Grandma Armstrong, Dad's mom, going to,
We went up to Maine to see Elsie with us. We had quite a time going, I and her. She lived in town. I was gullible. I'd trust anyone. She wouldn't trust no one. And this man on the bus with us, and it was cold, and he was gonna get out and get some coffee. And he asked if we wanted any coffee, and I said yes. Francis didn't say anything, but he brought back 2 cups of coffee. And she sat there and held hers and held hers. And she waited, and I drank mine. And I said, "Your coffee's getting cold." She said, "Yeah, but I was waiting to see if you passed out." She wasn't gonna
and you
drink.
didn't.
No, she wasn't gonna drink hers if I passed out.
The bathrooms cost to use?
50 cents to use the bathroom. I put the 50 cents in, and she went in, and then when she come out, she held the door open and I went in. But then after that, this colored lady come in there and stood and seen that nobody. She shut that door after everybody come out. I mean, she didn't let anyone stand over.
Did she work there or something?
Yeah.
Oh. Did she scare you?
No, she didn't scare me because we'd already both been in there and out. But I think that's awful when they charge you 50 cents to use the bathroom.
Well, if it's 50 cents back then, imagine how much it is now.
But that was there in Boston. And we was on that, well, I don't know if it was a Boston Lake, River, or what it was, but we was
The
on.
bay?
Yeah.
Maybe the bay?
And we was there, and there's a young boy, and he was going to the service. And I think he was getting transferred up into Maine, I don't know, somewhere up there. And he come up to us and he said, do you care if I act like I'm with you? He said, they tell me that the people here that don't like some of us that's going to the service, and they'll throw us in the bay or the water, whatever it was. We told him, and so he stuck right with us.
Oh.
He was from Kansas.
Was that during the Vietnam War?
No.
Had to be. But you're going to see Mom and Dad.
Yeah, they were up in Maine.
Yeah, because Angela was born in 60-something. Angela was born in 60-something, so part of the Vietnam War. It's like someone
Well,
that...
that's what we went up to see Angela, and she's a baby.
No, I mean, people didn't like the Vietnam War. So that made sense why they might
Yeah, he was.
be mean.
But you could tell Frances was more skeptical about anyone. She kind of, and I would just all believe everybody was good.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys do when you get up there?
But, well, Lewis took us up in Canada, and wasn't it Canada? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't there, I don't know.
Yeah, he drove us around, sightseeing. Who's that?
Your coffee?